Green Lantern is a 2011 American superhero film based on the DC Comics character of the same name. Starring Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Peter Skarsgård, Mark Strong, Angela Bassett, and Tim Robbins. Directed by Martin Campbell from a script by Greg Berlanti and comic book writers Michael Green and Mark Guggenheim. With rewrites by Michael Goldenberg. The film tells the story of Hal Jordan, a test pilot who was selected to become the first human member of the Green Lantern Corps. Hal is given a ring that grants him superpowers and must confront Parallax, who threatens to upset the balance of power in the universe. Hi everyone and welcome. For the past several videos, I've been revisiting older films I haven't seen in quite some time, so I decided for this video to revisit Green Lantern. I've always had a soft spot for Green Lantern. I've always loved the character. I've always loved sci-fi in general. So when this film was going to come out, I was very excited for it. But I remember walking out of it and being very, very disappointed. My first complaint about this film, I will say, that's carried over from my initial viewing back in 2011, is the story is fairly generic and predictable, which baffles my mind considering the rich mythology behind Green Lantern. Is why would you create such a generic and predictable story behind one of the richest characters in comic books? One of the biggest problems that Green Lantern has is its utilization of exposition. It goes from one extreme to the other. In the beginning, it is a massive info dump that it feels overwhelming. It repeats much of the information presented once Hal Jordan reaches Oa, but there's a lot of information that was presented that lessens the impact of things that are revealed later on in the film. But oddly enough, which boggled my mind, is that there's not enough exposition presented in the film. There are crucial details that are revealed within seconds of them becoming important. Another problem I have with this film is it disregards story elements as fast as it's introduced. A perfect example of what I'm talking about is it introduces the concept, which is lifted out of the comics, is Hal Jordan needing to recharge his ring when it's depleted of power. As fast as that concept is introduced into the film, it gets disregarded and never mentioned again. That could be a result of editing, which is not surprising with this film because huge chunks of the film feel ripped out. But the film never acknowledges that element again. A big problem I have with Green Lantern is its utilization of its characters. The characters are poorly developed. They come across fairly predictable. I would have liked more complex characters. They merely serve the purpose of furthering the plot. And once they serve their purpose, they are pushed to the side, although you see more of Carol Ferris and Taika Waititi's character. I can't even remember him. This film fails at establishing personal stakes. Hal Jordan in the final act has nothing personal that he's fighting for. The film really doesn't even attempt at establishing anything personal at stake for Hal in his battle against Parallax on Earth. It just focuses on the generic, the fate of the world is at stake, so I must defeat this enemy. Green Lantern's final cut was clearly made by committee, as this reeks of studio interference. There are plot holes that make it feel like an incoherent mess. For example, there are two instances where Hal Jordan knows where Hector Hammond is, yet there's no rhyme or reason as to how he would know where Hector Hammond is. That's just one example of the many plot holes that this film has. Tomare said the ring's limits are only what you can imagine. Green Lantern had a $200 million budget, so you would think they could imagine polishing up their graphics. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case with Green Lantern. The graphics are poorly rendered, although the film has a lot of imagination. Although the film suffers from a weak script and a generic story, I really enjoyed Peter Skarsgård, Mark Strong, and Ryan Reynolds' performances in the film. While Clancy Brown is one of my favorite actors on screen, the portrayal of Parallax on the big screen is unforgivable in the history of comic book films. It's on par with Galactus from Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Hi everyone, hit the like and subscribe button and please comment down below.